What's going on, zombie fans? UnrealEntGaming here today presenting my review for The Walking Dead's Season 5, Episode 3, 4 Walls and a Roof. Now, to start this episode off, guys, this episode actually kicked off very, very interesting. Of course, we all found out that the cannibals are back and they were eating Bob's leg, and to everybody's surprise, it turns out that Bob has just revealed to the cannibals that he has been, in fact, bitten before and that they were eating tainted meat. Of course, prior to that, the cannibals were pretty much telling him, like, listen, man, we're just being humans here. We're eating you because we need to survive. And this goes back to the whole bear's theory. If a bear starves, he's going to eat his cub. Of course, if he eats his cub, the bear will live. If the bear dies, the cub dies. So he's just doing something that's human and they need to survive and whatnot. And behind him are these zombies just like banging on the window and whatnot, just waiting to get in. And pretty much Bob is just sitting there and he's laughing and he's like, you guys are idiots. So then we go back to the church and now we have Sasha, who's outside. She was actually scoping around looking at somebody until a walker came by. She was startled, and Rick and Tyrese saved her, and they were like, what are you doing? And she's telling them, listen, a lot of our people are going missing and whatnot. And Rick is like, all right, let's just get back inside the church. So they go back inside the church, and then they confront Father Gabriel. And Sasha was so mad. She was looking at Gabriel and she was like, what are you doing? Like, what are you a part of? Tell me right now. And Father Gabriel kept saying, I have nothing to do with this. I have nothing to do with this. And then Rick confronted Gabriel and he said, who are you working with? Like, what have you done? What do you know? And he grabbed Gabriel and he was shaking him. He was like, what do you know? Screaming at him. And then finally, Father Gabriel confessed exactly what he was hiding before. Spoiler alert. Father Gabriel was hiding the fact that he kept people out of his church on purpose. He always kept the doors locked, and his congregation came before, and they were begging for help, and they were banging on the church doors and on the church walls. And Father Gabriel did not want to let anybody in because he was afraid, he was scared, and he didn't want to pretty much have anybody inside of his church from the outside because of fear of, death, pretty much. And he admitted that he kept all the food for himself, and he always kept the doors locked at night, and he wasn't really being, really upfront with Rick, but he pretty much told him how it was, and he told Rick and his group that, listen, I am damned, I am a sinner, and he broke down crying, and he was like, for all the things that I've done, I am truly sorry, and for the Lord has forsaken me, for I have become a sinner in God's eyes, I have killed my own people. And Rick and everybody's just looking at him like, this guy is a piece of crap, like, how could you do that? How could you keep men, women, and children from the outside coming in for help, And then they started hearing this whistling sound outside, and that's when one of the group members, noticed that there were people outside of the church. And then Rick, pretty much told everybody, like, everybody calm down, let's just go. So they go outside the church and they find Bob unconscious laying in front of the church doors. And it looked like somebody dropped him off, and then like there's a bunch of walkers headed their way towards Bob's body, and then Rick and everybody they're fighting the zombies off, they're shooting the zombies. Rick is like, grab Bob's body, we have to get back inside the church. So Rick is shooting zombies in the head. He's trying to like get them all to get away from the church. So now pretty much the walkers have, well, at least some of them have found their way towards the church. And so Rick is trying to fight them off and whatnot. And on the church wall, there was a symbol that the cannibals have put to mark their location. Prior to that, they told Bob that they mark their locations from Terminus all the way up until here so they can go back. And it's a very symbolic thing. So as everybody's in the church, Abraham actually, suggests that everybody has to go to Washington, D.C. right now. And Rick pretty much says, no, we're not leaving without Carol and, Daryl and whatnot, so we're not going to leave without the rest of our people. And Abraham was like, why? So like when they come back, they can just find a bunch of corpses and bones lying around from what these people are going to do or what these walkers are going to do. And then Rick and him started getting into a giant argument, and Abraham's like, I dare you to try to stop me. So Rick drops his gun, he's about to fight Abraham right in the church, and then Glenn stops it, and Glenn's like, you guys need to just chill, listen to me, Abraham, please help us, we need you. And then he tells Abraham, like, Carol saved your life, and Abraham's like, well, I'm trying to save all of yours. Everybody's shouting back and forth, and then Glenn finally convinces him to stay, and Abraham tells Rick, and he tells Glenn, if your people aren't back in 12 hours, we will leave, all of us. And Glenn agreed. Glenn said that yes, we will leave in 12 hours as long as we get ourselves situated. We can't go out in the night. And Rick is like, what the fuck? And Glenn's like, listen, man, this is not your call, Rick. This is ours. So upon agreement, finally the group decides to go on ahead and ask the father where the nearest place could be where these people could be holding out. And the father said there was an elementary school not too far away, about a 10-minute walk from here. And Rick decides to take a couple of his guys, and they go on ahead and they go off to find, Gareth and these cannibals at the school. And it's a very divided thing, because Rick decides to leave back, Tyrese and Carl and Judith and Sarah and everybody like behind, while him and everybody else goes off to try to find Gareth and the cannibals and whatnot. So as they go off, and out of the church to go find where the school is, the cannibals the entire time were watching them in the darkness of the woods until they, got to a safe distance where they couldn't see Rick anymore, and they finally decided to move in. So now, since Rick and his little team are going off to the school to go find the cannibals have actually waited until Rick left so they can go inside the church and possibly kill or kidnap everybody. So pretty much they walk on in, and Gareth is pretty much talking, and he's like, I know you guys are in here, and we have a lot more guns than you, and we don't want to make this any worse than what it already is. So I know exactly who's here, because we've been watching it the entire time, and we know that Rick took all of your guns and you guys are headed to the school, but that's why we've been watching you guys this entire time, and now you're vulnerable, and I know exactly who's in here. Bob's in here, unless, of course, you put him out of his misery already. We have Father Gabriel who's in here, Carl is in here, Sasha's in here, your good buddy Tyrese is there, and Judith is there, so you don't want to make things anything, you don't want to make anything as worse as it already is. So he's pretty much threatening everybody. He's like, all right, if nobody comes out, I will kill everybody and I will eat you. And then as he's trying to go door to door, all of a sudden, Judith begins to cry and scream. And that right there just, is a very clear signal of what room they're in, because Gareth turned around right away and he was like, wow, okay, I just might actually like this little girl, just for the simple fact of, she gave away everybody's location and Rick's not even there. But then, in a very unexpected turn of events, Rick actually freaking was there the entire time with the group, hiding in the dark. And right before, Gareth and his team were to kick down the door and kill Judith and Carl and everybody, you saw 2 shots bust out, and like 2 of Gareth's, cannibals got shot in the head. And then out of the darkness, you heard Rick go, put your guns down. And then they emerged from the dark with their silencers and stuff. And now, Gareth gets shot like in the ribs, and, everybody's putting their guns down. And then Rick and, his group, Abraham and, Sasha and Glenn and Maggie, they're all approaching the cannibals, and Rick confronts, Gareth one-on-one this time, and Gareth is lying to Rick. He's saying, we used to help people, we used to feed people, and you don't know what it's like to be hungry. And Rick is like, he's just looking at him like, you're a liar. And then Gareth tells, Rick, I swear to you, if you let me go, we will never ever cross paths again, and I promise you, something like this will never happen again. I will never cross you. And Rick looked at him and he said, well, too bad, because you already crossed my path and you crossed my family's path. So he pulled out his machete and he started chopping, Gareth's head off, and everybody else started killing off these cannibals. And, Tyrese is watching this, and it's a whole different perspective, because this is something that Tyrese has never seen before. Tyrese is witnessing, Rick and Abraham and Sasha and everybody else become these killers. They're killing off these cannibals. Although it's for the right reason, the way they were killing them off was very barbaric. They were stabbing them and cutting their heads off and ripping them apart. And Glenn is watching in the background. Glenn was a part of the group, and he had his gun drawn and he put his gun down. He was just watching like, wow, what have we become? Like, and then Father Gabriel finally came out after everything was said and done, and he looked at everybody and he said, this is the Lord's house. Like, what are you doing? Like, and it's a very symbolic message, because Rick finally got his revenge on the very man who was killing people off and eating them, like a cannibalistic state of mind, and it's horrible. And Michonne was finally there. Michonne finally got her sword back, and everything is there. Everything is just, very, very tense because of what just happened. So, of course, as the promise being kept by Abraham happened, 12 hours later, half of the group departed, and Rick told Abraham, I will see you again in Washington. We will go to Washington, but right now, we just need to fortify and stay here from now. So you guys can go on ahead, and the people that left with Abraham were obviously, Glenn, Maggie, and a few other people, while Michonne, Tyrese, Rick, and Sasha, Carl, and Judith and the father stayed behind at the church. So, Abraham gave him a map, and it's a very long drive all the way to Washington, So, as the episode goes on, the father came out, sitting on the porch with Michonne. He was telling her, I feel uneasy, especially with what happened. And Michonne said, that's life, So then the father went back in, and then Michonne's, roaming around or whatever. And then she hears something in the woods in the middle of the night. So she pulls out her sword, and she's walking. And as she's walking, towards the bush, she's on guard. And then all of a sudden, Daryl pops out. And she's very happy to see Daryl. But as she's looking at Daryl seems to be very, very lost and very, very different. So she looks at Daryl and she goes, wait a minute, where's Carol? And Daryl looks at her and he kind of cringes, and then he looks behind his bush, and then he goes, come on out, and the episode ends. It was a fantastic episode, guys. Out of 5 stars, I would give this a solid 4. It had a great tease. I really thought something else was going to happen, but they completely mind screwed me. So this episode had a lot of, a lot of things that would leave you on the edge of your seat. Definitely better than the second episode. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below pertaining episode 3, 4 Walls and a Roof. Let me know in the comment section below about your thoughts and opinions on next week's episode. And as always, everybody, thank you all for watching. My name is UnrealEntGaming. If you guys are Walking Dead fans, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for all the latest Walking Dead news, information, and updates. If you guys enjoyed the review, if you guys liked the episode, don't forget to hit it up with a like and a favorite. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, everybody. I hope you all stay tuned for next week's episode. It's going to be absolutely amazing. My question to you guys is, who do you guys think took Beth, and where do you guys think Beth is, and where do you guys think, Carol is? Do you think Carol is alive? Do you think something happened? Let me know in the comment section below, everybody. Thank you all for watching once again. Stay tuned for next week's review, and I'll be seeing you all in the next episode. Take it easy, everybody. Peace.